welcome to this week's episode of LevelUp Cyber. My name is Tony Bryan and your host. Really looking forward to today's discussion. Recently just got an opportunity to meet Dennis Kraft. Has a newer company he's been working through, but a dedicated cybersecurity professional for the last several years. And we're going to dive into the idea of training and certifications and the important role it plays as you're trying to break out your career. Dennis, we had a chance to get to know each other just a little bit before we hopped on. I'd love for you to take a second, introduce yourself, tell them your origin story of how you got to where you're at, and let us get kicked off, man.
Great. Well, thanks so much for having me, Tony. My name's Dennis. I'm the founder and CEO of Cyberkraft. We provide professional certification training to individuals, corporate teams, and government agencies with the goal of closing a cyber skills gap through elite training courses. With my role, I started in the U.S. Army. I was eventually a captain in the United States Army. I was an intelligence officer. I was with the attack helicopter battalion in the 101st Airborne Division. My job was to figure out what the bad guys were doing and brief the pilots, brief the crews before they went out on missions to ensure that they were safe. They knew the battlefield and knew what was going on. So I did a lot of talking, a lot of instruction, essentially. In my role, I'd give several briefings a day while I was deployed, explaining what the pilots could expect, what type of missions they were going after, what the bad guys were doing, what they were armed with, things like that. So, going through my military career, I had a great time. As I was transitioning into the civilian world, I realized there wasn't really much use for an intelligence officer, but my skills really would help in cybersecurity. So I transitioned to cybersecurity. And the way I did that is I earned professional certifications. I got my CompTIA Security Plus. I got my ISC2 CISSP. And with that, I got hired right away. And I worked as a federal contractor for over a decade. I supported the Department of Veterans Affairs and Department of Homeland Security, among other roles. After that, throughout my career, I leveraged my military experience, my briefing experience to help run training programs, run training courses at each of these organizations. And eventually I decided, I really do enjoy training and I wanted to start my own company. So I founded Cyberkraft in 2019 and started creating courses to help fellow veterans, help students earn the certifications to help enhance their career, much like the certifications helped me transition into cyber and find a high-paying position. So that's what I do now. I help individuals, I help corporations, help government agencies do government contracting as well to earn these certifications and level themselves up, get the skills they need to excel in the workforce. So that's my story.
That's awesome. I think kudos to you, right? I think you found a passion of something that helped you and you wanted to help pay it forward for other people. So really, that's a really cool story to hear how you've created an opportunity for others to follow your footsteps. So there's a lot of pathways and a lot of different roles within the cyberspace. And then in fact, there's a lot of certifications that exist right there between EC councils. There's a lot. We could probably spend 30 minutes just listing them all. So, if I'm trying to start a career and I'm getting into and want to break into this thing, like, where do I start? Where do I go? How do I pick what certification makes sense for me, right? Like, I'm seeing job descriptions that are requiring a CISSP, but like, I don't know. I don't really know how to do that. So kind of help us walk through, that thought process if I'm trying to break into this, where I should start, maybe where I could go, and where I, to not burn myself out, because it would be pretty easy to get burnt out quick before you even start.
Yeah, that's a great point. There are a ton of certifications out there. I definitely recommend anybody coming into cybersecurity, earn your CompTIA Security Plus. That's a great foundational certification to teach you the basic skills. And it's going to teach you, you're going to get a little bit of everything with that one. You're going to learn a little bit about what penetration testing means, a little bit about cloud security, identity access management. You're going to get exposed to a lot of different areas of cybersecurity, and it's going to help you understand where you want to specialize. So after your Security Plus, you definitely want to get a follow-on certification. Almost everybody will have their Security Plus. You do want to have something else to help differentiate yourself. If you're going to go into a cybersecurity analyst role, if you want to work in a security operations center, I'd recommend the CISA Plus, Cybersecurity Analyst Plus from CompTIA. It really does help It's focused primarily for SOC positions, security operations center positions. It teaches you how to do automation, incident response, how to work with SEM devices, SOAR devices that you would be working in that type of environment. If your goal is to work in an audit space, an audit capacity, IT or information systems audits, the ISACA CISA is really the best certification for you. Certified Information Systems Auditor from ISACA, that is the gold standard auditing certification. Technically, you need 5 years of experience. You would need 4 years with your Security Plus to fully earn the certification, but you can pass your exam and then earn the experience part, the experience requirement later. So you can still take the test, pass that cert, put it on your resume, and then explain to whoever is hiring you that you need to get that experience requirement later. And some certifications are like that. If you are interested in cloud security, of course, there's the AWS certifications, there's Azure certifications. You could specialize and get those certifications, or you can get a CompTIA Cloud Plus. And a CompTIA Cloud Plus is fantastic because it teaches you not only AWS, teaches you Azure and Google Cloud. So you get 3 different technologies with that Cloud Plus. It also teaches you the fundamentals of designing, being a cloud architect, designing a cloud system, choosing cloud capabilities, and assessing cloud vendors. So it really is a fantastic certification if you're interested in getting into the cloud. Of course, cloud has lots of remote opportunities as well. For ethical hacking, I'd recommend the EC Council Certified Ethical Hacker. It's one of the oldest ethical hacking certifications. It has the most clout, the most respect within the hiring community. So the hiring managers are going to understand what that CEH means. It has a reputation. It's been around many decades, and it's there to help you. It's been around over 20 years now. It really will teach you good fundamentals of ethical hacking, of penetration testing. And there's 2 portions to it. You can earn the CEH, the regular certification, and there's a follow-on portion to that, the CEH Master. So you can take your CEH and earn that CEH Master, which has a very in-depth practical test to it. So the basic level CEH is great to get you hired, and the CEH Master is a way that you can leverage your CEH and earn an even more difficult follow-on certification using that same CEH track. So it really is a good certification to earn, and I think the best one to start with if you're getting into penetration testing. So that's kind of my take on what certification you want to get starting out. As you go through your career, as you become more experienced, at about the 5-year mark, you definitely want to earn either your CISSP from ISC2 or your CISM, your CISM from ISACA. These are fantastic certifications. The CISM is more if you want to get into a managerial position, you want to lead a team, you want to eventually aim for that CISO role. That's where the CISM is going to come into play. It's going to teach you a lot about risk management, risk decision-making, how to communicate with stakeholders, senior leadership, and how to look at problems, look at solutions, vendors, technologies, risks, and really make good risk-based decisions that are going to succeed or help your business. The business needs your organization. That's where the CISM is going to come into play. The CISSP is a fantastic general cybersecurity certification. It's kind of seen as the gold standard certification within the field. And it teaches you a little bit about everything. So you learn IT networking, you learn theory, you learn architectural design, models for how to create operating systems. You learn a whole lot with your CISSP, and it really does give you a good exposure to multiple disciplines within cybersecurity. So I definitely recommend one of those 2 certifications if you're about at that 5-year mark in your career. If you're going to go beyond that, you have things like the CISO from EC Council or the CGITE from ISACA. Those are both fantastic CISO level certifications. So if you're at that leadership role already, or you want to get an even higher level position, then I'd recommend those, the CISO or the CGITE. ISACA for CGITE, CCISO from EC Council. And of course, if you're looking to branch out, expand your skills with networking, you have things like the CompTIA Network Plus. If you want to learn a little bit more about networking, you want to go through that network career track. You have the CCNA, CCNP from Cisco. Those are both great networking certifications. If you're trying through that IT administrator role, I'd recommend a Server Plus from CompTIA or a Linux Plus from CompTIA. Linux Plus if you're going to be working primarily with Linux-based systems, Server Plus as a general vendor neutral certification. But there's lots of different career tracks. It really pays to talk with somebody to get something that's specialized or works best with you. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me or my team at Cyberkraft. We'd be happy to have a conversation, help you plan out your career. It's very important. And I think if you take the time to do it, you can really manage your career correctly and ensure you're getting paid for the skills that you have, and you can prove the skills that you have with the certifications.
Yeah, that was some great advice. So now there was a lot of certs and a lot of different paths described. Is there a place that I could go to maybe to dive in? I know there's been iterations of this, but is there a single place I could go to maybe to see this or map out some of these opportunities or that certification track kind of pathway that would help shape it in my head?
Yeah, I would recommend going through, scheduling some time with myself or one of my instructors. We have free consultations, essentially free sit-down sessions with you to help you look at where you're at and see where you need to go, what certifications can help you achieve your goals. So that's a free service we offer. We're happy to sit down with you and offer this. And we don't have a stake in any one vendor. We partner with all the vendors. So we're really just going to pick the certifications that work best for you. That's what we do, and that's what we recommend.
Yeah. So like a good tool just to kind of stack onto that a little bit, cyberseek.org is a really great website that maps out a lot of your career tracks and will give you entry level to intermediate to advanced, and will align a lot of what you just said around so somebody can come do some research and actually have some perspective there with the coaching and counseling you guys are providing for that piece. But cyberseek.org, I question the data and numbers sometimes, but the actual tracks and the things that are there that map out the career paths are fantastic. And I think do a really good job of setting the standard there. There's a lot of organizations that provide training, right? We provide training, there's colleges and community colleges and pay to play boot camps and certification tracks. How do I find the one best thing for me, right? Like there's a lot of options, and we just talked about a lot of tracks, right? Where do I go to figure out what's going to be the best way for me to learn? That's going to give me the best opportunity to get a career, because that's what we want, right? We want to create a job. What advice would you give to somebody to find that?
Great question. So yeah, I definitely recommend signing up with a course that provides you with a professional certification. You want to have something that you can take away from the training that's going to help you throughout your career. With Cyberkraft, all of our classes are tied to a certification. You get a professional certification at the end of the class. I would be very wary so there's a lot of colleges out there that offer, hey, we're going to teach you cybersecurity in a 3-month course or whatnot, or whatever time frame. But they don't offer you any professional certifications. You just get basically a certificate saying you took this cybersecurity class from this college. A hiring manager is not going to understand what that means or what that represents. A hiring manager will understand what accredited training, accredited certifications will mean. They'll know what a CompTIA Security Plus means. They'll know what a CISSP stands for. They'll know what an ISACA CISA stands for. And that's what's going to get you hired. If you look at job listings, a lot of times you're going to find that certain certifications are required for these roles because that's a standard that everybody across the industry can understand. Hiring managers can understand what those certifications represent. You as a candidate can understand that this certification would represent you and represent your skill set. So definitely get a training that gives you a certification of some sort. I'd also be wary of training that does not include an exam voucher. those types of classes are really just there to get your money. If there's no exam voucher with the class, they obviously do not care if you take the test or not. They're there to get you into a class. The class should pay for your test. It should have your test fee included or be tied to the enrollment in some form. And I think it's important to have some sort of guarantee with a class. With all of our classes at Cyberkraft, we have first-time pass guarantee. We pay for your second attempt if you don't pass on your first try. We stand by our courses. That improves, that ensures that my instructors are teaching to standard, because if they don't teach the standard, it costs me more money. So instructors who don't get me first-time passes, they don't instruct for me for very long. And it's a good forcing mechanism for the organization, for Cyberkraft. So that's something you should consider. If there's some sort of guarantee, whether it's another voucher or some type of guarantee to help ensure that you have a quality class. So I would keep those in mind. It's always helpful to be open and honest. We try and really invest ourselves with the students. We care about how our students are doing. You don't want to see a program that just wants to get you into a class, and when you're done with the class, that's it. That's your only interaction with the organization. So keep those things in mind as you're looking for training.
Yeah, I've noticed a trend. A lot of organizations offered kind of placement services at the end, and that's gotten a little harder, right? There's to your point, it adds quite a bit of cost, and it's hard to break that in. Help somebody break into and take that transition from the pass cert to that. So I know a lot of them have kind of shifted priorities and invested in other things to really build that out. So yeah. All great advice, so now I'm excited. I've decided I want to go take a Security Plus. I think it's a great option for me, but man, how do I pay for this? Right? Like I don't have any money. I don't have any cash. Like I'm broke. I'm trying to break in, so I can't have money and get a new job. Right. So, what are ways for me to go out and fund my learning, or, do I have to, like, can I get somebody else to pay for my stuff? What does that look like? In your opinion, to really help? We've got it figured out, the search, we figure out kind of what we want to do. Now I just got to figure out how to get there and make it happen. So what advice would you give for the funding side of it?
Yeah, great point. So when it comes to investing in a certification, I really do think you should view it as an investment, because with any certification you can maintain throughout your entire career through maintenance fees and continuing education credits, you're basically investing in your career, your earnings potential. So think about it that way. You're not just paying a one-time fee. You're investing into the quality of your pay throughout your career and your ability to leverage yourself to get a position, or to find multiple positions and then pick the one that works best for you. Now, when it comes to paying, financing is always a good option. With all of our classes, we offer financing through a firm. We also have, for our veteran students, we have Meritize, which is very friendly for veterans. Looks at your DD-214, your military service, on top of just your credit score. So that's very helpful for our veteran students. There's also programs out there, maybe through your state, workforce development programs. If your prior service, you may have a GI Bill you can use for training, or you might have vocational rehab credits through the military, depending on your service branch. So that can be very helpful as well. Oftentimes, it does help. There are ways to pay overtime, which can be helpful. We always work with our students to help find a solution. I understand it's a significant expense right off the bat, but when you get hired, or if you're already in the field, you already know the value of these certifications. As you get a higher paying position, that's a great way to justify the cost. And the best way, of course, is if you're already working the field, get your job to pay for your certification. If you need any help doing that, just reach out to us. We'll help you work with your hiring manager. A lot of companies provide an education credit, or even if they don't, you can justify that expense. This is a professional expense. I need to learn these skills, so we should include this in the budget in some way. So we always like to help our students get the job to pay for it, because honestly, you're providing more value to your organization by earning these skills and taking these classes. So it makes sense for your organization to pay for that.
Yeah, I had read on LinkedIn maybe last week, there was a survey done just around the amount of money or opportunities that companies are providing to their employees for that upskilling or certification track. And it was an alarmingly low percentage of like 15-20% of the people that responded that their company invested in any additional training or certification for those folks. And I always go back to the quote, right? Like, what if we train people and they leave us? And the response is, what if you don't train them? So that was a little alarming for me to kind of see that, especially given the nature of the market and trying to retain and just keep the attrition there. So great feedback. Are there any pitfalls, or any type of red flags that I should be looking out for, or somebody should be looking out for as they're looking through programs or offerings, right? Like what's out there? They'd be like, oh my gosh, that's awful. Or like, man, this gives me a lot of confidence to sign up for this course. What are those red flags that we should be looking out for classes or certifications?
Yeah, great question. So if an organization is not providing official courseware, that can be a red flag. There's ways to cut corners and save costs as a training provider. The official courseware is usually the most expensive, usually the most effective in a lot of ways. So when you see an organization that doesn't advertise that they're using official courseware or providing an exam voucher, it makes you think, okay, well, why can't they provide that? Why aren't they providing the official courseware? Are they creating their own? What is the quality of the courseware that I'm going to receive? With all of our classes, for example, all of our CompTIA classes come with a CompTIA Cert Master Learn in Labs environment. So you can work with the official CompTIA labs, you practice the official CompTIA tests, and you get the official CompTIA study guide. Our ISACA classes include the official ISACA review manual, questions, answers, explanation days, on and on. So we use the official courseware for each of our classes to ensure that you know what you're going to get because it's coming from the certification body itself. I think that's a really good way to check the quality of the training that you're going to get, because there's a lot of places that they'll have their own labs or their own training, or they'll buy a cert prep book and give that to you. And at that point, what are you really getting from that live class? Sure, that live class might be a little cheaper, but are you really getting the quality of instruction? If you're going to be investing in a live class or even a self-paced, an asynchronous class, shouldn't you get quality material? So I think that's a big red flag there. It's also, I think, important to understand who's going to be instructing the class. So if you ever have a question about that with us, you can meet our instructors directly before the class and get a sense to understand who you're instructing or who is going to be instructing you. I think that's helpful as well. Some organizations are so large, they have instructors from all over the world, and they get the cheapest instructors they can to cut their costs. So you can never be sure what instructors you're getting from some organizations. And that can be, you don't want to go and invest into a live class and then get some instructor that is going to be not a right fit for you, or somebody you can't understand, or somebody who's not going to be able to explain the course material in a good way. So I think that's very important as well. Quality of instructors, quality of course material.
Yeah, I've noticed a trend of a lot of organizations that will train a course, right? And then the next course, immediately that person that passed this is the instructor for the next course. And I've seen that quite a few times. And it kind of boggles my brain a little bit. I'm like, so this person has had one class, and I'm sure they're talented and smart people, right? I don't want to take anything away from their skills and abilities. It's just definitely, I know for us, we recruit instructors. We're trying to find industry folks that can bring stories, experiences, and really tell the tale. The real world application of those things makes a huge difference instead of reading the text, where you can actually understand the context of the things you're trying to solve. So, when you're seeing instructors, short-term instructors go, and I'm sure to your point there's a way to save a little money and some costs there. But your instructors are, for us, I know is the one thing is not to chintz on and to treat them well and incentivize them in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's ridiculous to me. That practice, I haven't heard of that, but that sounds. I can't imagine having somebody go through a class once and then teach that class.
Yeah. So I know you serve the DoD and the Department of Defense, and certifications and credentials are really important, right? Within the federal government, whether it's DoD, DHS, whatever. They're mandatory for a lot of those roles, right? So, what advice would you give to somebody, maybe a transitioning veteran or somebody who's looking to break into that federal government space? Where do they start? Where do they go? How would they leverage what you're describing, a training program to really, to make that transition into that kind of opportunity?
Yeah, great question. So I definitely just recommend, if you're a transitioning veteran, you want to stay in the federal space or work as a federal contractor, earn a certification that's on the 8140, 8570 list, sponsored by the DoD. Now, it's 8140 now, used to be 8570. And it's a list of certifications that are required for DoD positions. And even though it's required for the DoD, a lot of federal agencies will just look at that list and say, okay, we're going to copy, they're going to copy each other's work essentially. So it's really good to just earn a certification off of that list to start. Usually CompTIA Security Plus, you can't go wrong. It's required for a lot of technical positions. It gives you an information assurance technical level 2 role qualification. So that's really helpful. And it's a great one to start, as I mentioned, to then follow on and just pick certifications off of that list. You can't go wrong if you're doing that. That'd be the best way to start your transition. That's what I did. That worked for me as a transitioning veteran, and that's what I advise my veteran students to do.
There's a lot of free money out there for vets between Vet Tech, Army Cool. There's a ton of stuff. The GI Bill you alluded to. So, there's a lot of ways to take advantage of that stuff. This isn't about training, but being that you serve the federal government, the idea of clearances is always top of mind, right? So transitioning veterans to security clearance is generally pretty easy and transferable. They might need to do a couple extra things, an SCI label here or there, right? But for the most part, a Sec Plus clearance is going to help them break in and get a job pretty easy because they're billable pretty quickly on day one, right? Which is important for a lot of those companies. Let's say I'm not transitioning and I'm just a Joe Blow civilian coming off the street. I've never worked for the government, have zero any type of background check or even security clearance. Where do I start, right? Where do I go to lean into that and try to, make that transition?
Yeah, great. I'd still recommend, getting into the certification. I mean, you can choose two different routes. You can either go get a college degree where you're spending 4 years of your life spending probably over $100,000 studying and then getting a degree. On top of that, you'll probably need a certification anyway, or you can start with certifications and start applying for jobs now. There's lots of cyber roles out there. If you invest in a couple certifications, you can transition even as a civilian with no military background. I mean, with my military background, it didn't really help me because I had a top secret clearance. I didn't leverage that top secret clearance. I got a remote position as my first position. I guess a lot of people would say that was pretty lucky, especially back when I got it. There weren't a lot of remote positions as there are now. So, I was basically, you'd be treating me as a civilian anyway because my military background wasn't really considered. And I got that through certifications, through earning that Security Plus to start out, and then that CISSP to help me get hired. So I do believe in that process. And if you just have an open mind coming into it, entering the field, there's a lot of places that will take interns as well. So you can do an internship for cybersecurity, get some hands-on experience, some on-the-job experience, maybe earn a little bit, maybe not as much as a full-time role or a temp position. Temp positions can be really helpful just to get some hands-on, get your foot in the door, leverage that experience that you have. If you go through the right training that teaches you the hands-on skills, you're going to show your value when you show up on the job. So that can be a good way to help transition or ease yourself into the field. At Cyberkraft, we've trained truck drivers, mechanics, school teachers. We train all sorts of people who have had no experience to pass their certification, then we help them find positions as well. So it's definitely possible. If you want to transition into cyber, there's a lot of opportunities, and it's a great place to earn a lot of money. It's a great place to earn a lot of money. As you progress, your experience level increases, your earnings potential increases from year to year. So really good role. It's a good career field to be able to earn more money over a shorter period of time. So I do believe in that field, and there's a cyber skills gap. As I mentioned, when I say that, I mean there's more positions out there than there are people qualified to fill those positions. So there is a great need for cybersecurity professionals. And just look at the news if you're wondering if cybersecurity is going to be around or if it's going to be growing. There's cyber breaches every day. I mean, cybersecurity is securing computer systems. It's not like computers are going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, that's great advice. So we've come to the tail end, which again, I feel like 30 minutes always goes way faster than it should, but a really great conversation, some great advice, by the way. And especially as I know I talk to so many people just trying to figure out their way, right? How do I break into this? Where do I go? And this was really solid advice that I think most aren't really considering. They're looking at very traditional programs, right? Your colleges, and don't sleep on short-term credentialing. Stacking certification. It is a really, really good way to make that, to do it quicker, more cost effectively, and to get that role a lot faster. But everybody gets the same last question. What advice would you give to somebody looking to level up their cybersecurity career?
I think earning a certification is the best way to level up your career, especially quickly. It's a great way to qualify yourself for a specialized role in cyber. If you want to get into penetration testing, earn a penetration testing cert. It's a great way to start, help you apply for jobs, help you get hired. The more certifications you have, you don't have to go crazy, but more certifications you have, the better it is for you. You're going to be qualified for more positions. You're going to be able to receive more job offers, and you're going to be able to negotiate better when it comes to negotiating table. If you're looking for ways to figure out what certifications to get, there's a lot of free resources out there. There's different YouTube channels. You can check out the Cyberkraft YouTube channel. Just Google Cyberkraft on YouTube. We have lots of videos to help you figure out what certifications are best and teach you different cybersecurity skills. But it's a great way through certifications to learn more about the industry and increase your earnings potential. And I always advise my students to always look for ways to increase your earnings potential. Usually certifications are the best way to do that because everybody understands what a certification represents. A hiring manager is going to understand, looking at a certification, what knowledge and what skills you possess if you have that certification. So I think that's the best advice I would give. It's also going to teach you things. You may learn new skills, new concepts. Hopefully you will, and you probably will, that are going to help you just be a better cybersecurity professional overall.
Yep. I like the advice. I view this as very much a trade, right? Like you're going to need to grow your skills just because you get in doesn't mean you're done learning. There's a lot of opportunities there to continue to grow. So the best way to do it is highlight those skills, get a specialization, and the best way to get that is through a cert, man. So really solid advice all around. So Dennis, thank you so much for joining us today. I really wish you the best of luck with your company as you grow. Thanks for all you do for the veteran community and the people you train and the careers you started. And really just thanks for the time today and joining us on the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Tony. It's been wonderful being here. I appreciate you having me, and hope everybody has a wonderful day watching the show. Thanks so much.
Yeah. See you guys soon. Have a great afternoon.